There's a lot more to do in Edinburgh than just its famous castle, and in this video I'll be sharing a thorough roundup of things to do in this beautiful historic city, from all sorts of free museums to lovely neighborhoods outside of the crowded historic centre. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com, and this channel is all about practical travel advice, so be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And be sure to stick around until the end for a link to the written version of this guide, which goes into more detail about each activity and also includes an interactive map that has everything pinned for your convenience. Now, let's begin with things to do in Edinburgh's Old Town, starting with the ultimate symbol of Edinburgh, our first most obvious must-do, which is a visit to Edinburgh Castle. Welcoming over 1.3 million visitors each year, Edinburgh Castle is the country's most visited paid attraction, with a lengthy history dating back over 800 years. Today, within its walls, you can visit several museums, a large war memorial, a royal palace, and of course, the Honours of Scotland, Britain's oldest crown jewels. You could easily spend half a day here, though be warned that enjoying the castle fully does require some prep work. The first time I visited, I honestly felt underwhelmed because I didn't know my way around, there were way too many people, and I had zero historical understanding of the sites that I was seeing. In fact, if you're not into history, you might actually find the castle pretty boring. So make sure you read up on it in advance, and beware that tickets can often sell out in peak season. So book those tickets ahead of time, get there early, and refer to my full written guide on the castle for a suggested itinerary and game plan. For your convenience, I'll also be leaving links for tickets to this attraction and others in the description. Another Royal Edinburgh must-do is a stop at Holyrood Palace. Formerly known as the Palace of Holyrood House, this regal palace is Edinburgh's answer to Buckingham Palace and serves as the official residence of the British monarchy in Scotland. Of the palace's 289 rooms, only 17 rooms are open to the public. But besides the interior, there's also the ruins of Holyrood Abbey and beautiful gardens to frolic through. Overall, if you're interested in the royal history of Edinburgh, this is another must-see. From here, you can embark on another classic Edinburgh must-do, which is a hike up to Arthur's Seat. At 823 feet above ground, Arthur's Seat is the highest point in Edinburgh, serving glorious views for those who could brave the climb and leg cramps. Though beware, this is a fairly steep hike, so should only be attempted with proper footwear and a decent level of fitness. Otherwise, there are plenty of other great views in town to enjoy, including the Salisbury Crags, which are here as well, but with a much easier climb. And at the foot of Arthur's Seat, you'll find some more noteworthy attractions like Dynamic Earth, Holyrood Distillery, and if you're open to a little detour, even a pub that lays claim to the title of Scotland's oldest pub, the Sheephead's Inn, who do, as I can personally confirm, an excellent Sunday roast. Now, going back to other sites in Old Town, one popular must-see is the National Museum of Scotland. This free, sprawling wonderland of exhibits is housed in two adjacent buildings on Chambers Street. The Victorian building, which is home to a gorgeous grand gallery made of cast iron and glass, and a more modern building from the 90s. Inside, visitors can explore galleries covering everything, including science and technology, natural history, and art and world cultures. With its massive size, this museum can be a pretty overwhelming place, so I'd recommend coming at off-peak times and grabbing a map. But no doubt this is a must-see, especially the rooftop terrace. One especially interesting highlight is Dolly the sheep, the first successfully cloned mammal who was born and cloned right here in Scotland. Just around the corner, you'll find another animal icon of the city, Greyfriars Bobby. This little terrier is probably one of the city's most beloved mascots, and you can find a statue dedicated to him directly in front of a pub by the same name. The story goes that when Bobby's human John passed away unexpectedly, he spent the next 14 years of his life simply sitting at John's grave, sleeping by his side every night, becoming a beloved city fixture in the process. Today, tourists love to go pat his nose, though locals claim that this causes damage to the statue, so I'd advise just going for an air pat or a quick photo instead. Another Edinburgh activity close by is a quiet walk around Greyfriars Kirkyard. Today, Bobby himself is buried here, near his human John, with visitors leaving sticks, flowers, and dog toys on his grave from time to time. But apart from the gravestones of Bobby and his human, Greyfriars is home to a number of notable Edinburgh residents, since burials have been taking place here since the 16th century. More recently, however, the kirkyard has become a popular spot for Harry Potter fans, with multiple gravestones bearing names that are said to have inspired characters from the franchise, which makes sense given that the author did live here. Another classic activity in Old Town is a visit to the Grass Market, once a medieval marketplace and execution site, but today much less gruesome, with great views of Edinburgh Castle, along with many pubs and shops. A great view from here can be found on the Vennel if you just walk up some stairs. If Instagram is anything to go by, this is one of the best photo ops in the city. From Grass Market, you can start the walk up Victoria Street, another magical must-do in Edinburgh. This street has long been proclaimed as the inspiration for Harry Potter's Diagon Alley. And while it's a believable and harmless claim, it's one that has been officially debunked by the author herself through a series of brutally honest tweets. Still, it's a beautiful street to visit, especially if you have a thing for vaguely magic-themed shops. Though I'd recommend getting here earlier in the morning to avoid the inevitable crowds. And if you like the look of winding streets like this, another one to put on your list is Cockburn Street, about a 5-minute walk away. The Milkman Cafe here has one of the most beautiful window views in town. Finally, to finish our roundup of Old Town activities, let's take a walk along Edinburgh's ever-popular Royal Mile. This historic street spans just over a mile from Edinburgh Castle to the Palace of Holyrood House, with tons of souvenir shops, pubs, restaurants, museums, and of course, crowds along the way. While this is no doubt one of the most touristy stretches of Edinburgh, a walk along here is a worthwhile must-do at least once, especially given the many highlights and attractions along and around here. So let's run through them. First, almost right outside the entrance to Edinburgh Castle is the Scottish Whisky Experience, which offers paid tours and tastings to teach newbies all about Scotch whisky. Plus, they have an impressive collection of over 3,000 Scotch whisky bottles. This could be great for those wanting a more guided whisky experience, though of course just popping into a pub to sample your way through is always an option as well. Right across the street is the Camera Obscura and Worlds of Illusions, which is a fun Edinburgh activity to distract kids or kids at heart for a few hours, with 5 floors of cool illusions to explore. Sure, it's not the most historic or cultural activity, but it is fun, and the views from the top are some of the best in the city. Just down the road, you'll encounter one of the most iconic buildings in Edinburgh, the Tolbooth Kirk, which, despite its appearance, is actually not a church today, but a multifunctional space that includes a cafe, as well as the box office and headquarters for the famous Edinburgh International Festival. Continuing along the Royal Mile, you'll find Gladstone's Land, one of the street's oldest surviving buildings. While most people come here for ice cream, above the ice cream shop is actually a small museum that shows the evolution of housing on the iconic Royal Mile, starting at the top floor with a 1911 era room when it was a modest lodging house, then winding down and getting richer with every floor. If you're interested in history, this is a small but cool spot to check out. Now, tucked away in a courtyard just off the Royal Mile near here is the Free Writers Museum, which showcases the lives of Scotland's best-known literary giants, Robert Burns, Walter Scott, and Robert Louis Stevenson. This museum is housed in a beautiful building packed with portraits, personal items, and manuscripts from these famous authors, so literary nerds should definitely make sure they stop by for a visit. Moving along the Royal Mile, the next main stop is St. Giles Cathedral, an impressive Gothic church known for its beautiful stained glass windows and intricate stone interiors. Though it's not technically a cathedral since it's not presided by a bishop, it's still very much worth seeing. Just across the road, you'll find the real Mary King's Close, a unique character tour that takes you back in time to explore Edinburgh's dark history between the 16th and 19th centuries. I didn't get a chance to visit this during my time in Edinburgh, but I've heard if you're into spooky attractions, this is one of the best. And then down the road is Tron Kirk. This former church is now home to a lovely little maker's market, where you can browse souvenirs and products from local designers, which is a nice alternative to the otherwise very touristy shops along the mile that sell many of the same mass-produced goods. Now, as you continue down the Royal Mile, you'll begin a stretch of smaller free museums. The first is the Museum of Childhood, which bills itself as the world's first museum dedicated to the idea of childhood, with displays spread across several floors about the development of childhood, showcasing toys, games, clothing, and honestly, some rather haunting dolls and mannequin children. While I wouldn't necessarily prioritize it as an Edinburgh must-do, it is worth stepping in if you're looking for something interactive to do with kids. And if you need a break from all the sightseeing, one of Edinburgh's most historic pubs can be found right here as well, the beautiful Tollbooth Tavern, originally constructed in 1591 as, you guessed it, a place to collect tolls from travelers who were entering the city. Today, it's a cozy, tourist-friendly pub with lots of Scottish specialties for you to try. And just outside are two more free museums. The People's Story Museum, which is all about telling the story of the working class people of Edinburgh from the 18th century up until the late 20th century. And there's also the Museum of Edinburgh, dedicated to the history of the city itself, with a varied collection of items including the original plans for Edinburgh's new town, and even a collar and drinking bowl belonging to the city's most legendary canine, Greyfriars Bobby. Now, near the end of the Royal Mile, you're greeted with the controversial Scottish Parliament building, which officially opened in 2004 after decades of planning that ended up with a price tag over 8 times the original budget. This bright modern design is of course a stark contrast to Edinburgh's signature stone buildings, but I'll admit it's definitely better appreciated from the inside, which is possible through a free guided tour if you book ahead. There are also public areas accessible without a tour, including a free exhibition space and cafe, which has some surprisingly delicious and affordable food options if you're looking for a quick bite. Now, before we make our way down to Edinburgh's new town, another free museum for your list is the Museum of the Mound. This museum is housed in the Bank of Scotland's head office building, with plenty of interesting displays all about money, including a visual representation of 1 million, sadly void, pounds. Now, in between Edinburgh's Old Town and New Town are the famous Princes Street Gardens, two adjacent public parks located where there once was a loch or a lake next to Princes Street. This is where a portion of Edinburgh's famous Christmas market is held every year, and also just a popular place to hang out or enjoy a walk. Within this beautiful park, you'll find a number of famous sites, including the Scottish National Gallery, which is a beautiful neoclassical building housing Scotland's national collection of fine art, with pieces dating from the Renaissance to the beginning of the 20th century. There's also the gorgeous Ross Fountain, which makes the perfect photo with Edinburgh Castle looming behind, as well as a statue dedicated to Wojciech the Bear, an actual bear and World War II veteran. And the Scott Monument, one of the largest monuments in the world dedicated to a writer. While it's a common spot for photos, you can actually climb to the top for unique views of the city. Along Princes Street, you'll also find a few other noteworthy attractions, including the Johnnie Walker Experience, a fun and unpretentious introduction to Johnnie Walker and whiskey in general for newbies. I did their signature tour, which included a guided visit through multiple interactive rooms and performances, along with 3 whiskey cocktails. Overall, it was like a Willy Wonka-fied whiskey tour focused on the Johnnie Walker brand, but I really enjoyed it. It's worth noting as well that while the shops on Princes Street are mainly chains or souvenir shops, many of them do have great views, like this one from the Waterstones Cafe. Speaking of views, another Edinburgh must-do is seeing the amazing views from Calton Hill. From here, you have a perfect view over Edinburgh's iconic skyline, with Edinburgh Castle, the Balmoral Hotel, and Arthur's Seat all in view. Of course, there's cool monuments on the hill as well. The Dugald Stewart Monument, for instance, was designed by William Henry Playfair, who was the originator of the bar graph. And there's also the National Monument of Scotland, a Greek-inspired structure originally intended to be a memorial for Scottish soldiers who died in the Napoleonic Wars. Due to budget constraints, however, they couldn't finish it, hence the structure's now very sad nickname, Scotland's Disgrace. Now, on that cheery note, let's move over to Edinburgh's new town, with a visit to the National Portrait Gallery of Scotland. Of all the wonderful free museums in Edinburgh, this is my personal favorite. It is, as the name suggests, an arty shrine to Scotland's most prominent figures in history, dazzling visitors with 3 floors of portraits and sculptures divided into eras, alongside brief explanations of each person's significance. For those interested in Scottish history or just putting some faces to names that you've probably heard many times while exploring, this is one of the top things to do in Edinburgh. Think the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but with context. Plus, its design both inside and out is uniquely breathtaking, so make sure you stop by. Another interesting attraction in Newtown is the Georgian House, an 18th century townhouse that has been beautifully restored and now operates as a museum. Though it's fairly small, with just a handful of rooms to mosey through, the available rooms are well kept and give you a glimpse into the noble lifestyle of Georgian-era Edinburgh. So, if you're interested in this period of history or simply looking for Edinburgh rainy day activities, this is definitely one to add to the list. And if you're looking for more fun things to do in Edinburgh at night, the pedestrianised Rose Street in Newtown is a great place to start. There are a number of cute pubs on the street, but my personal favorites are the Kenilworth and Dirty Dick's, which is packed with quirky clutter and cozy vibes. But hey, if classic pubs aren't your thing, it's also worth noting that Newtown is home to many cool speakeasies and hidden bars as well. A classic being Hoot the Redeemer, which is tucked away on Hanover Street. This unique bar is filled with interesting bits of decor and fun touches, including a claw machine, where you can play to assemble your own unique cocktail. Now, finally, let's move on to things to do outside of Edinburgh's Old Town and Newtown. One of the biggest attractions we haven't discussed yet is the Royal Yacht Britannia. Best known for its stint as Queen Elizabeth II's royal yacht for 43 years, sailing more than 1 million nautical miles around the world in that time. Today, the yacht is a museum where visitors can wander the 5 different floors to see exactly how the royals traveled. Definitely a cool experience if you're nosy and obsessed with The Crown on Netflix like me. While here, it's worth exploring its surrounding area, the hip neighborhood of Leith, once known for being rougher around the edges, but today a vibrant hub of restaurants and pubs. One cute pub I can recommend here is Chukter's Landing, where the food comes in mugs and where they do a fun game called the Hoop of Destiny, where you can pay a small fee to play ring toss to secure a dram of the whiskey you land on. From Leith, you can also enjoy one of the most underrated and peaceful activities in Edinburgh, which is a stroll along the Water of Leith walkway, which stretches for 12 miles along the river from Leith to Balerno, passing a mix of lush green areas and interesting sights along the way, including the Scottish National Gallery of Modern Art and Murrayfield Stadium. If I had to pick and choose though, the section between Dean Village over to Stockbridge is definitely the most scenic. On that note, for another area to explore outside of Edinburgh's main tourist centre, be sure to give Stockbridge a visit. This pretty neighbourhood has a distinctly villagey feel to it, with cobbled streets, Georgian buildings, beautiful parks, as well as excellent shopping opportunities, from its independent boutiques to its popular weekly market. Highlights also include the city's Royal Botanic Garden, as well as Circus Lane, one of the most photographed streets in the city. Now, speaking of photographed, one of the prettiest parts of Edinburgh that you can't miss is Dean Village, a fairy tale hamlet found just a short walk away from Edinburgh's city centre. For 8 centuries, this area was a hub for grain milling, with just under a dozen mills grinding away at its peak, powered purely by the river. Truthfully, these days there's not much to do here by way of activities, but it is very beautiful and worth the detour. Now, August is commonly considered peak season in Edinburgh, and the main reason is of course that it's festival season, a highlight of which is the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, aka the largest performing arts festival in the entire world. Taking place for 3 weeks every August, this festival consists of 3,000 plus shows of every possible theme and genre popping up all around town, with theaters, bars, clubs, restaurants, and even hotel conference rooms becoming entertainment venues. The whole thing is a fever dream of unbridled creativity, and there's truly nothing like it. So, if you time your visit for August, make sure you immerse yourself in all the fringe craziness. It's absolutely spectacular. Or, if you hate crowds, definitely avoid August like the plague. Another cool event that happens at the same time is the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. This world-famous military show dazzles over 200,000 in-person spectators each year, with upwards of 100 million viewers tuning in from abroad. In addition to plenty of bagpipes and British flair, international guests take center stage as well, with over 40 countries having participated over the years. Throughout the show, they use Edinburgh Castle as a backdrop, projecting cool scenes and colors onto the facade, with 1,000 plus performers emerging from the misty entryways like professional wrestlers entering the ring. It's exceedingly dramatic and wonderful, so be sure to get tickets if you're in town. Finally, when in Edinburgh, don't forget to eat. The food scene in Edinburgh is as delicious as it is diverse, with everything from casual pubs and chippies to elevated high-end seafood restaurants. I definitely recommend trying some Scottish classics like haggis with neeps and tatties, as well as Colin skink, which is a creamy fish soup. But of course, there's plenty more Scottish specialties and dishes from around the world to try as well. Some local specialties, if your arteries can handle them, include deep-fried pizza and deep-fried Mars bars, found in pretty much any chippy, especially in touristy areas. I'll say, they're not great, but worth trying at least once if you think you can handle them. For food recommendations, as well as all the spots from this video pinned on a map, be sure to check out the link here for a full written guide. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more practical travel videos just like this one. I'll see you next week. Bye!